As the sun shines on a brand new season, there's a new chapter in terms of the eventing calendar. And this year we've got an action-packed schedule for you on Horse and Country, and we wanted to go behind the scenes to find out just how the competition might play out. So we've caught up with some of the big names in the sport. We've gone to the organisers, the riders, the course designers to just find out what is going on as we build up to what is going to be a brilliant season. It's time to shine the spotlight on eventing 2025. So let's kick off with the first international on UK soil. And all of the big names will be out in force. It's our first opportunity to really get a look as to how everybody has come out after a winter of hard work. So we head to Nottinghamshire, to the eventing Spring Carnival at Thoresby Park. Early part of the season, Tom, what do you look for in the first few runs for the big five-star horses, the ones that have maybe got a big spring plan?
Yeah, look, like they've always got different plans. They are very different people, so sometimes they need more runs, sometimes they need less. It's picking and choosing what suits your horse. So for us this year, obviously, hopefully Badminton bound, a Thoresby is a perfect example, with maybe even like a Burnham Market for just no eye run a little bit later on. It's sort of picking and choosing, and the whole point of your build-up and your preparation to these big five stars is going in with confidence. Confidence and getting them prepped and feeling fit enough, ready to rock and roll. So, yeah, that's why we like using these bigger events as sometimes test runs and sometimes play runs.
How does it feel coming into 2025 as a five-star winner?
Yeah, it's definitely not sunk in yet. I'm a little bit crazy. This time last year I hadn't even done a 5-star, so yeah, a bit mad to think that we're starting the year with that. But
And actually it all kicked off last year at Thoresby with a brilliant win in the 3-star for D-Day. Take us back, because you bookended the year with an international win at the start, international win at the end.
I know, mad, because basically he was meant to run at Lincoln and then it was really wet, so I didn't run him. So he was actually meant to be in the 4-star at Thoresby, but we thought we'd just drop down for his first run of the year and do the 3-star. And it was just ideal for him to have a really lovely pop round, a lower level, and yeah, he just had a lot of fun and made it feel very easy.
Now, I'm not even going to say that Thoresby is a happy hunting ground for you. It is your hunting ground, Emily. I mean, you have had so much success there over the last few years, back-to-back wins over the last couple, 8th the year before. What is it about Thoresby that you love so much?
Honestly, I don't really know, but Valmy certainly does love it. He's had, as you say, fantastic form there. I think he loves just being out competing. Actually, this last month here at home, he's never a nightmare. He's the most awesome character, but he's just ready to run. He hates it being like on the horizon, but not quite getting out and doing it. And I think I always, with him, do the first event of the season just with my foot off the gas. He's like a lion cross country, and I just use it as a bit of a try and make him cool and calm and listen and look where he's going. But then Thoresby's has just worked to be the first run that I a bit let him do what he likes doing best, and that seems to just have made us luckily finish at the top of the leaderboard the past 2 years, and I think also has a tendency to be wetter, doesn't it, at those early events. He lives out a lot in the field. I think we gallop on the grass here, he lives out on the grass. So I think he's quite conditioned to the softer going. So maybe compared to some other horses that just don't have a routine quite like him, it's maybe he just feels quite at home.
So the first punches have landed at Thoresby. Who will be starting the season as they mean to go on? Well, hot off the heels of that event, we head to northwest Norfolk to the Barefoot Retreat's Burnham Market International Horse Trials. Alec, one of the things that I have to say I love about Burnham Market is there really is something for everyone, all the way from grassroots up to the very, very top level. Tell us what you've got in store this year.
Well, we have our usual array of something for everyone in the eventing sphere. Anyway, we've got our regular BE 100 classes and progression all the way through with junior under 18s and open novices, all the way through to the 4 stars and the advanced. Actually, the advanced class at Burnham Market is often a very hotly contested class as well.
One of the things that I love, actually, when we have an event like yourself and you get the whole variety of levels, as a course designer, you're really setting the challenge from 100 all the way up to the 4-star level. But as a viewer, we can kind of see your thought process. We can see how each of the questions develop. Just talk us through that and how it works, because I think that's really interesting for people to look out for if they're tuning in this year.
I definitely think at 3-star level and the 4-star level, I run the courses in parallel for all sorts of obvious logistical reasons, but also I run them in parallel and have similar types of, the themes of the jumps are always the same. Technically, of course, they have to be quite different from a 3-star to a 4-star, but hopefully, as you say, in those different jump zones, you can see the theme, but you can see the difference in technical challenge, so that the technicality of the jump at the 3-star might only have 2 efforts and it might be on 4 strides, whereas at a 4-star it might have 3 efforts and have a 3-stride and a 2-stride bit, or maybe a 4 and a 3, because the striding doesn't always make it, having less striding doesn't always make it harder. Sometimes you can make it more complicated by adding a stride. So yeah, we're very lucky. And then the BE 100 and the novice, again, they run parallel. We use many of the same features because Burnham Market is not a big site. We've only got 87 acres of grass here in total, and we try to fit in. We have 300 stables and have 7 or 8 dressage arenas, of which 4 of them are long. And you've got all the lorries, and then we want the spectators because we're very fortunate. We have a really good loyal spectator base here. So we've got quite a lot to sort of squeeze into quite a small space, really.
In terms of Burnham Market as one of your target spring events, we're at your home base at the minute, Hafford Stables, which is in Wales. Norfolk is a really long way from Wales, Emily. How long does it take?
It takes a good 5 and a bit hours up there. I mean, we have a pretty good run with the roads generally, but it's always those last few, it feels like the last few hours up there. We are, from our point of the country, then when we get over to those last bit of wiggles, that is a long way. But I mean, they have the last few years, provided such brilliant ground for this time of year, and having the 4-star there and also the 3-star, and a huge array of classes. It is an event we always go to, no matter how much time we have to set aside to just get over there.
The amount of work that goes on behind the scenes at all of the events is absolutely extraordinary. We're here at Cornbury in March, and the tractors out there working the ground in the main arena to make sure it's as good as possible as it can be for later in the season in September. So where to next? Well, actually, we head to Northumberland, one of 2 visits to Belsay International Horse Trials this year, and the first of their fixtures plays host to the 4-star replacement fixture that has previously been held at Chatsworth, but Belsay have stepped up this year to take the reins on that one. It's an exciting time for the team. There's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes, and we can't wait to hear what they've got up their sleeves. Joining us in the commentary box this year, Saffron, very excited to have you as part of the agency family. Can I ask, though, how are you, first of all?
I'm great, thank you, Nicole. I am getting on really well with rehab and obviously just trying to navigate sort of where I go next. So I'm really excited to be doing some commentary this year for Horse and Country.
Talk to me a little bit about the commentary position, because I know it's something that I've done alongside you in the past. You're very good at it. I'm looking forward to this. But it's a different element to it, isn't it? You'll be using all of your experience, but actually getting to talk about a lot of different horses.
Yeah, so different. And obviously up until now, I've done it very much as a pundit. And from a rider's perspective, it's so nice to sit in there and look at all different angles. But even from a commentary perspective, you can actually find out a lot more about riders and horses and how they're going throughout the course. And I really, really enjoy that side of it.
Belsay is going to be a big one this year. I don't think you've been to Belsay before. What do you make of it?
No, I've not been to Belsay. I've known Laura and her team for a very, very long time, and I know she does a fabulous job. So I'm really, really excited to head up there and sort of see what it's all about. I know the courses are big and bold, and I think it'll ride really well.
And what about the terrain at Belsay? Because I always feel like it's one of those events that actually is, I guess, a really traditional horse trials as such.
Yeah, I would definitely describe it as sort of big, bold. If you can jump around Belsay, you're looking for the bigger tracks, your big Bs, as we all call them. That's, these are the horses that will hopefully go on to do that in the future.
Laura, first of all, brilliant to have you with us. Can you give us, for anybody who hasn't been to Belsay, that hasn't tuned into one of the live streams in the past, a bit of an introduction, set the scene, because it is, I think, one of the most beautiful new big additions to the calendar that we've had in recent years.
Belsay has the most fantastic backdrop. I mean, there's not many places where you'll find a beautiful Greek-inspired hall and a medieval castle and beautiful rolling parkland with views as far as the eye can see. So the backdrop is definitely the big thing about Belsay. And I'd say the second thing really is the warm welcome that you'll get, because I think we're known up in the north for being a friendly bunch, and we all actually work together very, very closely with Burnham and Alec Ford, the three venues in Northumberland. We work hand in hand. So you get the same people at all three, and I think competitors have come to realise that actually they get very well looked after up here in the north.
Next up, we head back to Belsay before continuing on with the rest of our 2025 eventing tour. Having just been to Belsay, we're actually now heading back up north once again, because it is the time for the second Belsay International Horse Trials fixture of the season. And this time our attentions will be focused, amongst the other classes that are there, of course, of the Pony and Junior National Championships. These are the stars of the future, and we can't wait to see who might be at the very top of the sport in a few years' time. Top riders have come in their droves to Belsay over the last few years. The likes of Yasingham have used it as a prep run for big 5-star classes, and I think she's won the 3-star there and had very, very competitive runs, as have a whole host of other top names. It's a great opportunity to see the biggest names in the sport, but actually with the future stars of our sport, Laura, because you've got the Pony National Championships and the Junior National Championships, and these are, you know, the Bobby Uptons, the William Fox Pitts, the Pippa Funnels of the future.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful to see that young talent come through and start to see. I mean, you know, it's only yesterday that suddenly you've got someone who's actually doing really well in the senior classes, and it seems like a nanosecond, but they were here and, you know, doing really well in the ponies or the juniors. So, in fact, as you know, last year we abandoned, but in 2023 I had a big emotional moment where the pony that my daughter Xanthi rode to the Europeans in 2019 came back with its next rider and won the National Pony Championship at home, which was just like, I mean, honestly, the most emotional moment of my life. So, you know, there are some very special things that happen. And then if you go on to see those riders or those ponies or horses go on and do very well at the Europeans, it's you get a huge sense of pride, absolutely.
And in terms of a Pony and Junior National Championships as well, it's a very exciting time for some of the younger riders. And these are going to be some of the stars of the future as well. But it's a tough environment. It's a big championship feel.
Oh, massively. And they build up to this all year. You know, this is their main aim. It's the same as seniors going to Europeans in a way. This is their final selection trial. And there's a lot of tension, a lot of stress coming into it. But, it puts on a really good show when you're there.
So now it's the turn of defender Bramham in Yorkshire. And last year, it was Harry Mead who took the top spot in the long format class, but there's also the short format and the under 25 division to look forward to as well. A whole host of 4-star competition. What more could we ask for? It's a big year this year with Andy Heffernan taking over from Ian Stark as the course designer. I wonder what he'll have in store for us. Bramham this year, taking over as course designer from Ian Stark. How are you feeling about it now?
Well, actually quite excited, if I'm honest. I've had a lot of fun at Bramham over the last few years as Ian's assistant, and I've learned loads. But I just went literally the other day and put out some of the permanent fences, and I was a little bit, I suppose, nervous before that. I was, not really knowing what to expect, and it's my first time there with the builders, like actually doing something. I came away from it like a dog with two tails. It was great.
Ian's obviously been such a huge instrumental character within the sport as a coach, as a rider, and particularly as a course designer. Have you felt the pressure? Big shoes?
Actually, no, because he's been really cool with me, and he made it really clear. Actually, at Bramham, I think we were sat there watching, as you do, for hours and hours and hours, and he literally, he said to me, like, whatever you do, it's it's up to you. Like, don't feel like you have to do anything because of me, and or do anything that I've done before just because he'll support me in whatever I choose to do. And actually, it's sort of like a weight off my shoulders, really, because I felt, I've got to keep that in, or I've got to do that, and actually you definitely don't. I mean, he backed it up with but obviously it's a very good idea.
Yeah, it was a great idea, so bear that in mind.
But,
I can tell, sat here next to you, you are really, really excited. You must be buzzing with different ideas.
Yeah.
Come on, what can you tell us that we might see either this year or in the next couple of years?
Well, I think this year I probably made the 4-star short a little bit stronger, I think. I'd say that the 4-star long's quite similar. But I think it probably just has a slightly different sort of Andy Heffernan feel rather than an Ian Stark feel. But it's not, that said, I very much follow Ian's philosophy. So it's not, I haven't made it into a dumbed down, I don't believe, into a dumbed down track or anything like that. It's a proper course, and I'm not going to give away too many secrets, Nick, but it is different, and I think it will be. I hope it will be well received.
One of the highlights for you last year was a lovely double clear at Bramham. Take us back to that kind of event and actually your experience with a course designer such as Ian Stark.
It was a real surprise, actually. The course didn't walk particularly twisty, and of course you're fooled because it's beautiful parkland and you're walking, everything seems like it comes up okay. I don't know whether it was because Donald was so strong or it was just a very cleverly built course, but it was actually extremely tight and twisty and really made you think. It was great fun to ride. There was some real great questions on the course that we were able to answer the way we walked, and that was a lot of fun. I think good old Donald being Donald, we walked, the first major combination was this was a skinny to a big corner back to a skinny on a sort of an S line, and I think he was probably the only horse of the day to make that on the 4-on-4 distance. So that's what we walked, and we managed to pull it off. So yeah, a mega run, great course, plenty to jump, but yeah, surprising how the twists and turns kind of caught me by surprise, really.
So now we go international and to Germany for Luhmühlen International Horse Trials and the 5-star level. Last year, it was Belgium who made history as Lara de Liederkerkemeyer took the country's first ever win at the level. It was a hugely emotional win for Lara and her team. And in the other division, the 4-star, which is the German national championship class as well, Jasmin Ingham ended up on top of the podium, but pushed all the way by Tom McEwen, who actually secured his Olympic spot with a brilliant finish. What will this year have in store? One thing is for certain, if it lives up to last year, we're in for a treat. Luhmühlen, Tom, last year it felt like a big moment, a bit of a turning point in terms of actual team selection for the Paris Olympic Games. Take us back to Luhmühlen 2024.
To be honest, you mentioned this earlier and I'd actually completely forgotten about taking Dublin out there. I was so sort of, after going a couple of years before and falling off both my horses, I was so concentrated on both 5-star horses because it had always been their plan. Like you say, it was a huge competition, not just with the 5-star, but also this time with the 4-star and trying to get your spot at the Paris Olympics. And yeah, Dubs had gone really well at Kentucky, but you just never know with the British team whether you've ever gone well enough. So what's the point of producing? What's the point of proving? And you just got to somehow determine that in your system. But Luhmühlen for an Olympic prep run was perfect. Obviously, do your cross country before you show jump on the last day. On the last day for show jumping, the 4-star is actually in the afternoon, the 5-stars in the morning. So you actually really get a huge buzz of people, and they love it because it's their German championships, and they are thriving for Mickey to beat you.
How different is Luhmühlen to some of the events on British soil in comparison?
Yeah, very different. Like obviously they've got the surface straight away. It's a little bit flatter. The more rain it gets, actually for me, the better the ground gets, which sounds a bit weird, but with the sand, I think it just really packs it together a little bit more. When it's dry, it can be a little bit loose. How different they are? They're not completely different questions, but it just feels like it comes a little bit quicker. They're just slightly different variations and tests and questions that they're asking you, but at the same time, they are a true test of horse and rider. And it's brilliant to have both in the calendar because actually it gives you the options for horses don't always suit one route.
So now we head to Northamptonshire to Aston-le-Walls International Horse Trials, sponsored by Project Pony. And we've got everything at Aston this year, the likes of the 4-stars and big names no doubt out ahead of autumn targets, but also the stars of the future because it's the Pony Trial final trial ahead of their European Championships as well. It's surely going to be a brilliant one to tune into.
One of the venues that I think plays host to lots of top competition, but also actually some of the really important training sessions is Aston-le-Walls. Just give us an insight from your perspective as to actually what makes it so useful in so many different ways.
I think the first thing to say is you've got to look at the whole jigsaw set or the whole board at the same time. So we are called the Garden of Eventing. So it's really important that we keep our iconic sites, we keep our greenfield sites, and then we also have what we will call those sort of standalone equestrian centres. So, and we're very lucky to have all of that range, whereas on the continent, they mostly have the equestrian centres. So what Nigel does for us at Aston, first and foremost, you know that your dressage and show jumping are going to be on a surface, and the surface is now, especially that new top surface, is fantastic. You've got plenty of room in there to build proper tracks, get up on the distance, and that's the key thing, because in most surfaces they're not big enough to actually get up at 375 at the top level. And then the next thing you get at Aston is there is something for everybody. And yes, it's a relatively flat ground, but I do understand that Nigel has got the HS2 bunding going in. So Nigel is going to build his own hill. So he's got 1 million tons of soil going in, and he's going to build his own hill at Aston. So that will add an extra dynamic. So you've got to give him his credit. He always delivers. He's always thinking forward, and he's always invested in the place.
We've touched upon actually all in the lap of the weather gods at times. However, Aston-le-Walls is the prime example of a venue that actually makes the most of all-weather surfaces. As a rider, what does that mean for your planning, and actually how can it help you in aiming for an event such as that?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nicole, having an all-weather surface for your dressage and your jumping, especially early in the year when the ground can be very hit and miss, it gives the horses a lot of confidence to jump off a good surface, especially the start of the season. You know, they're coming out, sometimes they're a little fresher, a little greener, so giving them a bit of confidence where we can really help. Galloping around cross-country in the mud, you know, that's what we do, that's okay. But really to give them some support in the dressage and the jumping phases can really, you know, pay off later on.
Join us in a few moments as we continue shining a spotlight on those key events to look forward to before the end of the season.
This year, for the second time at Hartpury International Horse Trials, it incorporates the British National Championships as well. So we've got a whole host of podiums to look forward to, and lots going on behind the scenes as well. As a rider, Andy, you've still been juggling your top-level riding career alongside the course design and coaching as well. But last season, Hartpury was a real highlight for you. Podium finish in I think it was the Intermediate Championships.
Yeah. A really, really lovely Cooley horse called SSK Cape Cooley. She's only 8, actually, doing her first advanced.
And it's a new addition to Hartpury, obviously having the British National Championships as well. But similar terrain in a way to Gatcombe that have previously hosted it. What was it like there last year?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought Eric had done a super job with the track. It was really interesting. It was really encouraging. So it let the younger horses, you know, become more confident. And my horse was, you know, quite green really. Although she had done, you know, a few 3-stars, she was, you know, only just ready to do an advanced. But she was super. You know, I thought it was really good, really good atmosphere, great arenas, you know, perfect.
And when you ride other people's courses, how much do you sort of take notes and actually get ideas from them as well?
Oh, well, I take notes definitely from the fences, but a lot of people ask me, you know, what's it like walking courses when you design and stuff. But I do walk it with completely different hats on, if I'm honest. If I'm riding, especially, I don't think, oh, you know, would I have done that, or do I like that, or do I not like that? I just think about it from what I think of it as a riding point of view and the horses that I'm riding. And so yeah, I do think of it completely differently. Maybe that's a bad thing, but
it obviously works. It's working, so
yeah,
keep going.
Yeah.
Eric, first of all, what's new for Hartpury in 2025? Because I feel like last year there was a lot of change.
Last year there was a lot of change. It was the first year with the championships. Hartpury has always wanted, you know, Hartpury is a big university, and they want to develop. It does several things. With the event at Hartpury, it encourages students to come to them, but it also allows a little bit of their engagement with the community, and they want to push that a little bit further to give it that sort of feel that Gatcombe used to have of a festival. They're going to sort of maybe do some live rock bands in the evening, some country fair type stuff, and build it more into a sort of bigger community event than just the equestrian side of it, which would be really exciting to do that. You know, the courses worked really well last year, and we had some great feedback last year. So, you know, it'll be really exciting this year, I think.
There were a huge amount of horses that ran last year, and I know the event has kind of been knocking on the door of a second day of cross country for a few years, because they've traditionally held the 2-star and the 3-star long format plus the 4-star short, which is always jam-packed with some really big names. But then, of course, last year took on the National British Championships as well. What does that do in terms of your perspective, actually, in the courses? Because all of a sudden you've got not 1 but 2 days of cross country, you've got a whole another set of tracks to bring to life as well. What's that been like?
More than that, it also was, they run at similar levels. So I had 3 courses that ran, 3 advanced courses that ran under advanced rules. So the Intermediate Championship runs under advanced rules. The 4-star rules. The 4-star runs obviously under 4-star rules, advanced rules, and the Open Championship runs under the same set of rules. So then you really got into what was a good first-time advanced course, what was a championship advanced course, you know, what were those horses looking for that traditionally would go to Burghley, you know, because to me the Open Championships is a sort of a really good run. So the horses, I think they go to Burnham and they have a nice run, and then they come to Hartpury to be put under a little bit of pressure, and then they probably don't run more than 1 event again before they go to Burghley or Pau or wherever in the autumn. So we're looking to sort of provide that test to not finish those horses, but to develop those horses to answer those questions. So that to me was a really interesting thing of putting out 3 courses that actually were similar but were slightly different in their development of horses, of the questions they asked. So it was quite challenging. I did spend a lot of time there, and I spent a certain amount of time. I went there. I'm a great man. I love to be early. So I don't in life. If you ask my wife, she'll say I'm always late. But with the course designing, I like to have a plan in the bag 3 or 4 months out. And then everybody knows exactly what we've got to do. We know what the build list is, all that sort of thing. We can budget, and there's no surprises for anybody. But I did go there in November and sit there for 3 days on the side of the bank, and eventually thought, I'll come back to this another day, because it's so complicated to put 7 tracks in around the same piece of topography and things, but make them of a different level so that they ask different questions and develop horses in a different way. But I think in the end, we got there really well. We developed a few bits of groundwork and through the woods, which allowed us to get different distances for each class. So obviously your Intermediate Championship runs at minimum distance for the level. And it's really like a good first-time advanced course.
So, as September draws around, we head to Cornbury International Horse Trials and Young Horse Championships. And here in the heart of Oxfordshire, it is one of the most beautiful, iconic locations we could ask for. Cornbury House, the backdrop for all 3 phases of competition. And the team have been working unbelievably hard on the ground and the setup for what is going to be a very exciting week. And as we spoke to a number of our guests, they all have one thing in common: energy, excitement, passion for what is a real highlight in the calendar. Jemima, heading into your first season where eventing is the primary focus, 8 horses in, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, really, really good, really confident actually. It's great to sort of be back out competing again. It's quite a mission getting all 8 out, so very thankful for the team that I've got behind me. But yeah, super excited to see how the season goes.
And the season's going to start for you at Thoresby? What's the plan there?
So I'm at Twickenham this weekend and then heading to Thoresby for the first 3-star, which will be an observation trial for the young riders. So taking Casper, Whisper and then Rolo, who I went to Euros on last year. So yeah.
And in terms of actually competing here on home soil at Cornbury, when you're out and about as part of your training, do you never see the beautiful track and think, oh, David Evans won't mind if I just have a little pop while I'm here?
He would kill me. I'm not even allowed to turn out any of them on the pristine dressage arenas. It's all completely banned, so yeah.
I know you've been really instrumental in actually the passion and the driving force behind bringing eventing back to Cornbury. What was it for you that makes it so special?
Well, I think Cornbury is just such a special place. It's a special place to the whole family. And I think bringing eventing back here, when we first came here, there was kind of nothing here, apart from obviously the history that there had once been an event here. And with Dad and his passion, it kind of just made sense. And I remember being 14 and going around my first novice, I think it was, when we arrived here, and schooling around. And my trainer at the time was called Simon Lawrence, and he was driving around after me. And it always has been just such a family affair. So yeah, that's I think why it's so special.
So for you last year, what did it mean to take an international win?
It was very, very special. I couldn't quite believe it. I have to admit, it takes a whole team of people to do that. And crossing the finish line, and after having gone round literally an electric course, it was really, really special to see Dad there and floods of tears, which definitely doesn't happen that often. And yeah, completely surreal. I couldn't really believe it.
David, we're in March. It looks absolutely magnificent here at Cornbury. The sun is shining, which always helps. What's been going on behind the scenes over the winter?
Well, not a lot this winter actually, because it's been so wet since September. We haven't been able to get onto the ground, and as you can see, the tractor's out this morning with the Cambridge roll, and this is the first time that it's been actually just dry enough to get the tractor and the machine out. We do plan to do a few changes once it's dry enough to get machines around. But as you can see, I mean, it is the most stunning sight, especially on a sunny day. But it is very difficult to get around in the winter when it's wet.
Talk to us about a few of the changes that we might see. Give us some secrets, David. That's what I'm after. What can we look forward to this year?
Okay, so the 3-star track, I'm going to change it a little bit before the main water complex here. Bring them in slightly different route, and then take the steps away for all the classes, because they've been in 4 or 5 years now, and just make a little bit more of the water. So in one of the waters there'll be a jump in.
Okay, so the main water complex is behind us. There's actually a few different options for you here. Talk us through what it might look like this year.
Okay, so this step will go away and it'll just be a mound, so there'll be a fence before it, and then I haven't quite decided yet until that's gone how the ground goes, but there'll be on the right hand side over there, there'll be a log jump in for the, maybe for a couple of the classes, who knows yet.
Obviously you've got the beautiful Cornbury House in the background. You've got a real feature up here with spectators, a corporate hospitality area as well. What does that bring for them?
For the young horses especially, the championships, it just gives a little bit of atmosphere to what they're going to get at Blenheim or wherever else they go. So it just starts to bump up the atmosphere and people around, and the public stand on that side, the champagne tent's on this side and the horses come in this side. So there's plenty of time for them all to see, but it just starts to add to the atmosphere.
David, it's the 6th year of Cornbury House being back on the international eventing calendar. Talk to us about the vision of actually bringing this incredible event back.
Yeah, well, Nicole, it is our 6th year, and as you'll probably remember, we actually started in a difficult time because we started in the middle of COVID, you know. But the reality is, when we first moved here to Cornbury, this amazing setting, we knew that in the past there'd been horse trials here. And so many people around me connected said, David, you've just got to bring eventing back to Cornbury. And of course, by then Jemima was really getting into her eventing, and so the combination of being here, having lots of people saying, come on, let's bring eventing back, Jemima and Theo thought, let's do it. And that's what we did. We planned it, we got the event in the calendar, and then of course COVID hit, and we sat there and think, well, shall we start? Many were stopping, and we thought, yep, let's just go for it. And we started, and 6 years on, here we are.
It's got bigger and better every year. What's the ultimate vision for this event in terms of nurturing young equestrian and human talent?
Yeah, so when I thought about bringing eventing back to Cornbury, we had a really clear vision of what we wanted to achieve. And first and foremost, we wanted something that really was about the horses and the riders, and of course, therefore, about the owners as well. We wanted to bring it to be something that really showcased the very best of eventing. And so for me, it was about actually creating something where riders really wanted to come with their horses, where it was somewhere that they were excited to come.
And actually the family element as well, there's something for young kids, there's literally hitting every single marker that it possibly could.
Yeah.
For you as a family, you've obviously put so much into running this horse trials and putting on an incredible show for everyone. But last year was pretty special because your daughter Jemima actually won one of the international class. I think she had 2 spots on the podium as well.
Yeah, she came first and third. Yeah,
what did that mean? Actually, having got this incredible vision, put so much hard work in to actually see her go, and she's chasing her eventing goals. She is a star of the future, but to deliver here on home soil, a little bit more special.
Well, it was very, very special actually, and literally brought me to tears. I was crying, and obviously partly because she's my daughter, it was amazing, but also because it really encapsulated everything I wanted to become about. Here was a young rider who, quite frankly, had developed an awful lot over the years on a horse that we'd owned for years, had been through ups and downs, massive development, and suddenly here they were after years of training and hard work and development, suddenly winning the 2-star at Cornbury. So to me, that was just a magnificent moment for all sorts of reasons.
Still to come are the final 2 events on the H&C eventing calendar this year as we go to the Agria Blenheim International Horse Trials and to Osberton to finish the 2025 season.
So now we head to the Agria Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials. And we focus our attentions on the 8 and 9-year-old division, a class that has seen no fewer than 26 graduates go on to win at the 5-star level. It promises to be the hunting ground for the stars of the future, who will appear this year that we need to look out for. And you've got some really nice other young horses in your string. And Blenheim 8 and 9-year-old class has been a pretty happy hunting ground for you. You've had a couple of podium finishes. You were 3rd last year. D-Day was 4th a couple of years ago. Talk to me about what you love about that 8 and 9-year-old class.
I don't know, it's just, I think for the owners it's such a special event. It really is probably the first time for them owning a horse that they go to a really big one and feel what it's truly like to own a top event horse. I think the cross country at Blenheim is a really inviting first 4-star for them, so it's a lovely step up. And the show jumping with the big atmosphere, I don't know, it's just something really special about it. I've always loved it. The first time I went there with Bumble, she was top 10, and so yeah, it's just been a good place for me.
How much of an advantage will it have been him having been to Blenheim, experienced that atmosphere? Because it's going to be a big one this year.
Yeah, I think I'll go there feeling more confident. He knows what he's doing. He'll probably be a bit more relaxed with it. He was a little bit tense in the dressage, I'd say, this year. But yeah, he'll probably just be a bit more relaxed and a bit more of an old-timer.
Watch this space. Caroline, best of luck for 2025. May it live up to 2024 for you.
Thank you.
In terms of education for a young horse, Blenheim is obviously a pretty iconic venue. It's become synonymous with the 8 and 9-year-old class. What is it for you that actually gives it such a good experience and education for the younger horses as they step up through the levels?
I think one thing that they do really well if you look at the graduates from Blenheim 8 and 9-year-olds, there's huge success that comes from that class. So they're obviously doing something right. I think I'm not crazy mad believer in chasing age classes. It's not something that I think is desperate. I think the fact that it's an 8 and 9-year-old class is a really good idea. I think you see them occasionally, now you get 6 and 7-year-old classes. I think that works really well. You can have an 8-year-old that'll go there for the experience and maybe it's ready to have a good time. But I think giving them that extra year to establish them and go around there I think that works really well as a class, and I think it exposes them to a really smart venue. You know, it's an equal venue to any that you could replicate. I mean, it's just a beautiful setting. It really replicates that top level of the sport and gives them that perfect introduction into this is what being a proper event horse is like. And I think getting that correct balance of, they always build really good courses that are really fair. There's never anything, you don't walk it and think, God, this is absolutely savage or horrible. They build really good, strong, fair courses for young horses that are stepping up to that top level. And I think that's why you see such a success rate from that class that then goes on and progresses up the sport.
David, the 8 and 9-year-old division at Blenheim, designing that, talk us through it, because it's almost the unofficial championship for these horses, but they are still young. So how do you get the balance?
It's been very interesting since I took that class over, because it's got to be a 4-star, but it's got to be for the 8 and 9-year-olds. So yeah, it's not until I actually get the fences out and that I can, you know, I talk about readability for the horses all the time, that they've got enough time to look at everything. And that's probably the most difficult time, is when you start putting the fences out. You can come up with all the ideas in the winter or during the event, and it's always tweaking them, and then you look at the fences and you put a little bit too much angle on and then you put them back a little bit, and it's trying to make sure that it is a proper test and there'll be a few faults all the way around the course rather than just one combination. So it's a long thought process, and like I say, it's when you put the fences out that you actually say, no, we'll just move that 6 inches this way, and it's playing with the angles.
Simple as that. I can imagine it is very, very difficult. And as a course designer, what's your philosophy when you set these tracks? Which, I'll be honest, an unenviable task in my opinion. It's a hard job, but what are you actually aiming for? Each level that you design for, you want it to be plus or minus in the middle somewhere. And sometimes, yeah, it's very difficult. It's a lot of thought goes into the process, and if you're lucky enough to stay at an event for so many years, you know that certain fences work in certain areas, but then you are caught out now and again with the sun or the weather or whatever, and it's just like I say, the most important times when you put the fences out and walking the strides in between and understanding whether the horse will read it early enough or whether you've got to move it. You know, there's all those sort of things that go on. One thing you're most looking forward to at Blenheim this year?
I think that's an unfair question, because I look forward to everything.
Go on, David.
I just love Blenheim, so I look forward to Blenheim.
We can't wait. We're looking forward to Blenheim as well. David, thank you.
Pleasure.
Katrina, it's a big year for Blenheim this year, but first of all, it's actually the 3rd year, I think, that stable events have taken over the running of the horse trials. So what have you learnt over the last couple of years, and what might we see that's new for this year, the obvious aside?
Well, I suppose one of the biggest things I've learned is over these 3 years is the amount of support and enthusiasm people have for Blenheim Palace International Horse Trials. In the first year that we ran it, we had 6 months, and it was an enormous task. And the support and help I got from everyone, right from the grassroots up to some of the top officials, was just phenomenal. And everyone just wants it to be an amazing event, and they're just all pushing in the same direction. We have a fabulous venue and such great support that, you know, really it's just one of the most wonderful events to be involved with. Sort of fast forward 3 years, we've built on it every year. Our audience grew last year, the trade stands grew last year. We've added in a few extra features and another class. And then, of course, this year I sort of thought, well, you know, why not? Let's do the European Championships. I mean, it has been at Blenheim Palace before, obviously, but, you know, over, 20 years ago. But the venue lends itself to this sort of greatness, and it's great to be able to champion horses and young talent and new talent there.
So now we head back to Nottinghamshire and to Osberton International Horse Trials to finish the 2025 season on the calendar. It's going to be a brilliant event, and actually one that a lot of people have been aiming for all season long. One of the other venues that has the age group class is, of course, Osberton at the end of the season, but also the long formats as well. How much does that play a role in your mind in terms of the plans for your horses throughout the rest of the season and going through the entire calendar to build up to that at the end of the year?
So the way I do an event plan is I have a mid-season goal. I think this is where I want to go in my mid-season goal. I want to try and be competitive at this show and work backwards from that. And I try to avoid looking to the end of the season. I think it's always really, appealing to look at what happens because there's big shows at the end of the season. I always try to have my mid-season goal, do that, see how you get on, reanalyze, and from that moment then make your end of season goal. And those two events, that mid-season goal that I have at the beginning of the year and that end of season goal, basically shape my whole calendar. I then work off those. So to have a variety and the ability to go to a load of different classes and have your options open for that end of year long formats is, it's vital that we keep that in our country and keep that in our sport, that there is high level quality competition to go to at the end of years, because it finishes your year well and it gives you something to strive for and look forward to. But it's not something I set out at the beginning of my year and say, I must make that. I sort of try to listen a little bit more with how the flow of the season's going and be a bit more reactive to what happens rather than probably pushing too hard sometimes.
Big 2025 season goal? What's the aim, Sam?
I had a big rebuild a few years ago. I had an accident and my top horses just grew old, which is allowed. And I had a big rebuild and have built from 3 years old a lot of horses. And so my big goal this year is I've probably got about 3 or 4 of them that are ready to do a 5-star at the end of the year. And then a couple as well that are ready for the Blenheim 8 and 9-year-old classes. So it would be to probably go to those, go back to Blenheim, try have a good run around there, try be inside the time again, and try and push those push to the next level of getting back to 5-star.
Now, Stuart, Osberton would be the quintessential English country estate that we're so fortunate to be able to enjoy. It's really important that we safeguard those for the future, though.
Look, it is. The future of our sport is in all sorts of areas. Britain was traditionally the world leaders because it had these wonderful estates, and they're getting less and less. Osberton to me is absolutely crucial because the ground is good. It is critical that we keep these big galloping parklands because without them, where do riders prepare for Badminton and Burghley?
And what's in store at Osberton for us this year?
What's in store for Osberton? I haven't fully got my head around it yet. I've been concentrating a little bit on this week or next weekend. We want to get back into the galloping. The challenge with Osberton is we lost land and we've gained land, and you work over a period and you've got to sort of flip the site all on its head. I really want to get back into the galloping format that it used to be. We've used a lot of woods recently and I want to try and get out of the woods a little bit so that horses and riders learn to gallop and jump.
What the sport is all about at the end of the day, Stuart. Brilliant end to the season, we can't wait.
We're looking forward to it as well.
So there you have it, a little insight into what is coming up in the 2025 eventing season. And if that hasn't whetted your appetite, then I don't know what will. One thing is for certain, it is going to be a brilliant year of competition. You'll be able to watch all of those events and so much more on H&C Plus. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited. Can't wait for it all to kick off.